need 5 minutes of your time to sit down with you, to own up to my mistakes, not to try to get you back. I just need to own up to my mistakes, and I need to express that what I did to you has nothing to do with the beauty within you. Welcome to Indomitable, a podcast designed for those of you who hunger to develop an unbreakable relationship with your spirit, which is the Spirit of God within us. I'm Emmanuel, and I'll be delivering truth and strategy which will allow you to connect the dots between God, your mind, body, and the powerful universe that you created. It's time to pick up our swords and fight. Welcome back to episode 11 of the Indomitable Podcast, where I'm going to be talking about how to rescue your marriage after the fact that you cheated, assuming that you genuinely want to rescue your marriage, and not just rescue your marriage, but create a testimony of a marriage for the other marriages who are not going to succeed after the fact that they have cheated. And I think that there's too much evidence out here of marriages not succeeding after the fact that they've cheated. So I believe that God is wanting to use some of these relationships where the man cheated to create an awesome testimony, because this world needs it. We were looking up statistics. We were studying statistics just a little bit ago, and we looked up what percentages of marriages will succeed after the fact that they cheated and after the fact that they sought out professional help. And even at that, 50 to 70% of marriages are not going to make it. Now, this doesn't mean that it's difficult. This just means that professionals are lacking in strategy. But thank God, God has led me to a process of overcoming my old self. And after 25,000 plus hours of working with people on a one-on-one basis, I now have a system called ATR Method, which allows men to go from who they were that led them to cheat to who they potentially can become in order to create a testimony of a marriage. And that's the process that I'm going to lead you guys through today. So I'm going to encourage you to lean in, take notes, and take action immediately after this video. Do not be passive about this, because the information will only serve you if you act upon it as soon as possible after you internalize this information. So take notes, and if you guys have any questions, drop them down below, send us a message, and we will be more than happy to help you out with executing this process. So step number one. Oh, before I get into step number one, I want you to consider why you're doing this, right? Your why has to be very strong. You got to think about your daughter, right? If you have a little girl, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. Imagine this for a second. If you don't become the man that your father never became, then your daughter is going to marry a man that is going to do the exact same thing that you did to your wife. And by the way, I'm not putting all of this on the men, because at the end of the day, we are the attractors of our own experiences. But we're not here to blame anybody outside of us. We're here to take personal responsibility so that we can become a greater cause. So I want you to think about the bigger picture. If you believe that you are a chosen man, if you believe that you have a cause greater than yourself, and that God wants you to make an impression on the world, then lean into this, because the best way to make an impact or contribute to the betterment of this world is by creating a testimony. And most testimonies are created from being in a position like the position that you're currently in. You see, my testimony, what gives power to my testimony, it's not just who I became, but it's the place from which I became who I became. You see, there's got to be a transition. There's got to be cold and hot in order for there to be evidence that other people can do it as well. So now that your why is strong, now that you have once again remembered that yes, you are being called to become an example of a man that can affect other men who are not going to make it to this. Because remember, once again, 50 to 80% of marriages are not going to make it. So this world depends on you. It's not just your children. It's not just your wife. It's this world. And that's what calling yourself a chosen man is all about. It's about rising above the ashes and becoming something great so that you can be an example for the people who are not going to be able to do that on their own free will. So there are people that are depending on you. So now let's get right into it. Let's talk about pillar A. Pillar A is awareness. Awareness brings comfort and peace and answers to all of the nagging questions that you have going on in your mind. And right now I'm going to share with you what method I use within this first pillar to bring comfort or peace to those nagging questions that are tugging on your energy, your focus, and your belief in yourself. In the awareness phase, what you're going to do is that I want you to think about the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is going to give you reason as to why you did the things that you did, because right now you are in a state where you're asking all kinds of questions, from why did I do what I did if I have an amazing, loving wife at home? Why are these patterns continuing to repeat themselves? Right? What's going to become of my future? Right? Why is it that my wife won't give me back her trust after I'm trying to earn back her trust? So this first phase is the awareness phase. And the awareness that you're giving yourself is the awareness of the law of cause and effect. You see, when you start to reason or think in terms of the law of cause and effect, right, the cause is the reasoning. It's the thing that's going to answer the questions being the effect that you currently hold in your mind because of the effect that you've created in your reality. So when you understand the law of cause and effect, you now understand why you did what you did and why your present circumstances are as such. So think about this for a second. If you would have had a perfect example, or a close to perfect, or let's just say you would have had a mother and father who went to go work on themselves diligently, which means they would have overcome all of their childhood traumas. They would have studied what it takes to have a successful relationship. They would have developed exemplary communication skills. If they would have done all of that, understood the masculine and the feminine energy, and right, if they would have done all of that before having you, then you would not be in this position, yes or no? Correct. So this is how the law of cause and effect works. And this is why God gave us the law of cause and effect, right? Not just so that we can become greater causes and create a new effect or a new reality, but the law of cause and effect, it's a piece of awareness that serves us to bring reason as to why we did what we did and why our circumstances are as such. And with this reasoning, right, we no longer ask the question of, why am I in this position? No, you're in this position because of the way that you were brought up. Now, does this justify what you did? No, it doesn't justify what you did, because we can have some ladies watching this today and saying, well, wait a minute, Emmanuel, like, back up. You're going to let my husband off the hook just like that? After 10, 15 years of being married, having children, talked about a vision of our future, having all these goals, like everything that we've built, and you're going to let him off the hook like that? Well, I'm not letting him off the hook. It's just I'm justifying what has led you guys to this place. And with this, right, now you guys can start to build from this place. You see, the law of cause and effect, you see, it also states that if you don't become a certain cause, right? If you think about the verse that says, to him who much is given, much is required, right? The requirement, who you have to become, you got to be at a certain level before you are given a successful marriage. You see, most people, they weren't given that marriage. No, they took that marriage. They took that responsibility. I talked about this in a previous episode, where most people who have a responsibility, either as parents, as a marriage, leadership, right? They weren't given that. You see, life will naturally give you a responsibility. God will naturally give you a responsibility if you fulfill the requirements. But what most people are doing is that they're taking the responsibility. You see, that was me in my early 20s. I took the responsibility of a marriage without fulfilling the requirements. Right? And right now we'll get to what those requirements are, by the way. So what's going to happen? I'm going to fail, right? So the law of cause and effect, it gives you reason to why your situation is what it is, so that you don't have to ask those questions anymore. Because those questions of, why am I in this position, and am I not good enough of a man, or maybe I wasn't destined to be with her, or maybe there's some type of dysfunction within my mind. You see, all of those nagging questions are stifling to your energy, to your logic, to your confidence, right? They're going to get in the way. So that's why the first step of this process is awareness. And the law of cause and effect, it's going to give you reason as to why you are in a situation that you're in. Now, you can either reason in that way, or you can continue to reason in the way that you're reasoning. The way that you're reasoning isn't going to lead you anywhere. You're only beating yourself up more. You're allowing yourself to get beat up, right? And nothing's getting better. So at this point, the objective is to not continue focusing on what happened and what could have been done better. No, it's the now, right? I now have to go to work to become a greater cause, okay? I only have so many years to live. If you're 30, you got about 50 more to live. If you're 40, you got 40, right? So it's like the clock is ticking, right? You only get one life. So it's time to focus here on the now. It's time for me to become a greater cause, okay? What was done was done. If I could go back and change it, I would, but I can't. I can only change what happens in the future by changing who I am today. So the law of cause and effect is the first step. This is awareness. This gives you reason. So now you can shut off the thoughts of why you are where you are, why you did what you did, right? It gives you a general explanation as to why your circumstances are the way they are, okay? Then from there, now we can move on to the next pillar. This is transformation. This is the rebuilding phase, right? So like if you think about Leonidas in the movie 300, before he threw that sphere, right, he had to harness all of his energy, all of his logic, and all of his focus in order to throw that sphere and hit his target, right? So in this phase, what you want to do, like Leonidas did, he dropped his shield. He took off his helmet, right? What's he doing? He's taking off the weight, the distractions. So in this phase, you got to remove all of the beliefs that you hold about yourself, your beliefs about what will become of your future. You see, when Leonidas was about to throw that sphere, he wasn't thinking about what's going to happen to my marriage. Will I survive or not? What's going to become of my children? Like, he's not thinking any of that. Okay, so, but that's because he's in his element, right? He's dropped that weight. What is the weight? The weight is the guilt for what you did, the shame because other people know, or maybe they don't know, but what if they do know? Then you're going to feel ashamed. And then the fear of what's going to happen in the future, right? We want to drop those first because that's dead weight. It's going to show up in how you communicate, which is going to be step number 3 of this ATR process. So you've heard the saying that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And how you say things is determined by the emotions that are driving you. You see, if Leonidas was driven by fear, okay, I'm going to die. Will I see my wife again? Okay, or guilt. Shit, I feel guilty because I brought all these shoulders with me. That's going to get in the way of how he throws that shield, right? He already has the what he's going to say, what he's going to throw, but it's the how that matters. So phase number 2, it prepares you for phase number 3. So we got to get rid of the guilt and we got to get rid of the shame. How so? Same thing, law of cause and effect, right? You now have reason as to why you did what you did, and now you know that you're not going to be able to rescue your wife with that guilt and that shame, right? It's a good thing that you're feeling guilty, by the way. It's not a bad thing. God gifted us the emotion of guilt, not so that it can manage our life, but so that it can warn us and let us know that, hey, you're about to do something wrong or you did something wrong. So in this moment, you are identifying with that guilt. You can't save your marriage identifying as that guilt. You're going to come off as begging. You're going to continue to apologize. And meanwhile, it seems like your wife likes that. She doesn't feel confident. She doesn't feel certain with you, right? What takes away from a true masculine frame? Fear, guilt, shame, regret, and a lack of courage, right? You wanna secure your wife's heart. Okay, you're gonna have to secure yourself. And what makes you insecure is guilt and shame. So as far as guilt goes, you can forgive yourself for the old you, okay? Because we need to step into a new man. Okay? We need to step into a new man who's going to rescue this marriage. But the new, he's got to put down his shield. You see, he's got to put down that guilt. The shame, you don't need to be ashamed of what other people are going to think about you unless you're not going to go work on yourself. Then sure, you should be ashamed of yourself. Right? So, but let's just say that you're going to go work on yourself and other people know and you're feeling ashamed. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If those people are ashamed of you or judging you, then those people don't need to be in your life. When I hear that somebody cheated on somebody, I'm not judging that person. I'm understanding that that person didn't have a masculine figure, right? Somebody cheated on somebody, or those parents were always at work too busy to develop that child, or they just didn't give them wisdom and they probably gave them everything. So it's like, think about why Jesus Christ cannot judge us. Think about why Jesus Christ, when he was on that cross, why he said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Like, how did he not take that personal? Right? Yet here we are taking it personal. When it's like, well, what was done to Jesus Christ was like 10 times 100 what was done to us. Well, that's because his level of understanding is very deep. You see, Jesus Christ thinks in terms of the law of cause and effect. He says, God, forgive these people. Don't be offended because I understand what they do. I understand the law of cause and effect. You see, we created this mind to function a certain way. We created this mind that if this mind didn't have a mom and dad that was fit before they got married and had children, that they were going to raise an unfit child who would do unfit things. You see, that's why he don't take it personally. So you can do the exact same thing with the old self. Understand that what you did has nothing to do with your potential. Now, once again, I'm not justifying what you did. You feel guilty? Good. It's a healthy sign that you feel guilty. You see, if you're like the way I used to be, right, before I went through my transformational journey, then, that's me, talking to my buddies, and it's like, I cheated on my wife today, not just once, but twice. And then everybody's like, oh man, that's freaking awesome, bro. I did it 3 times, right? And my wife was home and she was asleep when I did it. You see, it's like there's no guilt, yes or no? There's no shame. Like, that's a problem. That means that they don't believe that what they did is wrong. Shame on them. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're aware that what you did is wrong. Good for you. This means that you have a healthy mind, right? The only problem with you is that you haven't fulfilled some of those requirements. You haven't learned how to tame the second, what's wrong with you is that you haven't learned to tame the second most powerful force of energy in the world, which is lust. That's the problem with you. You see, but it's only a problem if you don't learn how to do it. You see, that's what it means to become a greater cause, that you have to discover what is it that even led me to this place. You see, what is it that I haven't overcome, right? So we can fix this problem, right? But we can't fix this problem if you're still identifying as the problem. So what you want to do is that you want to identify as the man who knows that it's wrong, okay? And then from that place, now we can start to, number one, work on you and work on rescuing your marriage. So that's part of the rebuilding phase. As far as the fear goes of your future, okay, you can dismiss the fear as well. Because if you're watering your grass on a daily, then you don't fear the grass not being green tomorrow. So if you're working on yourself today, then you're guaranteed a better tomorrow. You drop the excess of weight, the fear thoughts of your future, the thoughts of whether it's going to work with your wife or not. We can dismiss those thoughts. That's irrelevant, right? God says if you go to renew your mind, if you go to transform yourself, what will become of your future is going to be fit for the new self. You see, so guilt out the door. Ashamed of what other people think about you? Who cares about what other people think about you? If they're judging you, then they don't have the mind of Christ and they don't need to be in your life. So, now that we've dropped that shield, that weight, okay, you've taken off that hat that was stifling, that was choking you, right? That was taking away from your confidence. Now that you're in your element once again, like Leonidas, ready to throw that spear, now you can go into the third pillar, which is the rescue pillar. Now we can have a conversation with our wife in the right way, with the right words and the right energy. Now, what's that going to look like? Well, we're going to sit down with our wife, okay? Not just randomly. You're going to send her a text and you're going to tell her, sweetheart, or if she's really, really mad at you, don't call her sweetheart. Call her Debbie, or whatever her name is, and say, may I have 5 minutes of your time? And let her know what that time is for, okay? I need 5 minutes of your time to sit down with you, to own up to my mistakes, not to try to get you back. I just need to own up to my mistakes, and I need to express that what I did to you has nothing to do with the beauty within you. Okay? I need to do it for myself, and I need to do it for you. What happens after that, it's none of my business. And then she's going to say, fine. Right? Don't expect a nice little answer, okay? Like, you messed up. You see, the problem with most people in life is that when we mess up, we're not willing to take the hits. It's like, you got to be willing to take the hits, but no more hits than the hits that you need to take. In other words, if you owe $100 fine, you don't pay $1,000. You just pay $100, right? So you take the hits. That's normal. But what do most people do? It's like, right? They're complaining or about the bill that they got to pay, or they just don't want to pay the bill. Like that's most people. It's like you want to cheat and you want to have back your marriage, yet you don't want to put in the work, right? That don't make no sense, right? So your wife just wants to hear what I'm about to say. But if you're going to say what I'm about to say, remember that it's not going to come off right if you're not coming from the right place within you. And if you're just using this to manipulate your wife, then you're being fake, okay? And I would just much rather that you don't say it, because you're only going to do more harm, not just to yourself, but to her and to your children. And if you care enough about your children, which I know you do, okay, then you want to do this the right way with the right intentions. You want to be genuine about it. So you're going to sit down with your wife and you're going to say, sweetheart, okay, I'm fully aware that what I did was wrong, okay? I'm not proud of what I did. And if I could go back in time and change what I did, I would. But I can't. Number two, all I can do today is go to work on myself, okay, day in, day out for the rest of my life, knowing that if I do that, I will not only become a greater cause, but I will create a different effect in my life. Okay, so I know that this is the only way that I can have success with a marriage. And meanwhile, I would love for you to be that woman. I know that that choice is not just up to me. It's up to we. See, the only choice that I have control of is the choice to improve myself. That's the only choice that we have in life. And that's the most powerful choice that we have in life. To work on ourselves, right? How many people are trying to work on the people outside of them, right, without working on where the problem truly lies, which is right here, right? We're trying to fix the problem outside, only making matters worse. Or sometimes we're able to manipulate the situation, keep the person that we want to be with at the expense of hurting them, right? Of maybe giving them a little bit, but then taking more than what we give. That's what most people do. We don't want to do that, okay? So I can only make the choice to work on myself. And in doing that, there lies the potential of leading you and I to a better place, okay? But that can only happen if you allow me to do that. Now, I'm not asking you to give me a response today, because that wouldn't be fair because of what the old me did. I want you to notice how I did that, because of what the old me did. You see, I want her to believe that I'm a new man. But for me to believe that I'm a new man, I have to believe that I'm a new man. And that's what phase number 2 is for. It was to get rid of the guilt, to forgive the old self, to not give a shit about what other people are going to think about me, okay? To let go of the fear of the future, okay? Which also means that I'm not attached to the success of this marriage. No, I'm attached to what God wants from me as the new me, okay? So, if you are willing to allow me to begin earning your trust, I can guarantee you that I will earn that trust because I'm going to go work on myself. You see, the success in life, regardless of what area of life you want success in, it's always going to be a guarantee when you're working on fulfilling the requirements. It's like I can guarantee that you will be fit if you eat like this and you work out like this. That's a guarantee. Right? I can guarantee that you're going to have a successful marriage if you work on yourself as a man, okay? Because that makes a woman feel secure. That puts her in her feminine. Like, think about that for a second. If your woman saw you watching this video, let's assume that you didn't know that she was watching you and that she saw you listening to this video, taking notes, right? Genuine about it. Right? What kind of belief do you think that will create in her mind about you? It's like, wow, he's not even over here trying to manipulate me and trying to beg me to go back with him under the same circumstance. Like, he's working on himself. Oh my God. How does she feel? She's starting to feel certainty about her future with you, right? You see, that's the effect that a woman experiences when you genuinely work on yourself as a man. You see, what happens when you're constantly hanging out with men who are good quality men who have successful relationships, right? She feels good about you, yes or no? What happens when you're progressing within your business and making more than enough time for her? When you're sharing everything that you're doing within the business with her, okay? When you're reading books on how to become a greater parent, that only causes her to become more in touch with her feminine, right? And she's no longer fearful anymore. She feels good. I guarantee you, sweetheart, that I am going to lead us to a better place because I'm going to go work on myself. Now, if you choose not to be with me anymore after the fact that I've gone to work on myself, because I don't want you to make that decision today, right? That wouldn't be fair to you. As a matter of fact, even if you were to say yes, I would probably say, hold on, like, I love and I want to protect you, right? So let me make sure that I do more than enough work so that I don't do this to you again. You see, she's going to feel like, wow, like this guy's making it all about me, which you should make it all about her, right? And you make it all about your wife when you make it all about your growth, because you can only lead her as far as you're developed. See, and then you say, and just in case you decide to not give me another chance, then that's okay. Okay? Because the new me is willing to pay the price for what the old me did. You see, that's a sign that you've stepped into your potential, because you're always willing to pay the price. You see, when you see somebody in court and you'll see that they're lying, this just tells you that they haven't become a new person. So the judge doesn't want to give them another chance. But what happens when you show up to court and you say, Your Honor, I'm fully aware that what I did in the past was wrong. Okay? I'm feeling guilty. I am guilty. Okay? I'm guilty of the charge, but that's not who I am anymore. I took the time to reflect and to understand that the reason why I even did that was because of the way that I was brought up. Now, am I making myself a victim to my upbringing? No, I'm not. But the person that I used to be was a victim to my upbringing. You see, now that I've realized this, sadly, after this happened, okay, now I'm not a victim to my past. You see, so yes, I do feel a sense of guilt, but I'm no longer guilty. You see, I'm now righteous. And from this righteous place, I'm going to right my wrongs. Now, does this mean that I'm asking you for lesser of a sentence? No, because if I asked you for lesser of a sentence, then this means that I'm not a new man. This means that I haven't stepped into my potential. You see, all I'm asking you is put me somewhere where I can serve. Put me somewhere where I can grow, where I can evolve. You see that? How does the judge see that individual? Like, wow, like this person is growing. They're now aware. They've done the rebuilding, right? And it's showing up in the way that they're expressing themselves. You see, it's the exact same process. That's the ATR method that is guaranteed to lead you into a successful marriage, right? In some cases, you might not save it. But the odds of, if every single man who's cheated on their wife, okay, assuming that there hasn't been like some physical hardcore abuse and that type of stuff, right? If it's the average man like you, not the average situation where you're a good quality man, like you truly value family, you truly value your children, you want to break generational patterns, you're not a bad guy. You never harnessed your sexual energy, right? And you just got a little too busy with your business, with your career, right? You got thrown off balance there. And you started sharing your vision more with the people that you work because that's natural. And you never shared that vision with your wife. Well, of course you're going to connect with other people outside of work. You see, so if that's the situation, you're not a bad guy. You don't have a manipulative wife, right? She's begging God, praying to God that you evolve as a man. You're going to save that marriage. I guarantee you that probably 95% of marriages in a scenario like the one that I just expressed, they're going to fix it, right? So you have that conversation. That's the rescue phase, pillar number 3. And believe me, your wife is going to see a new man just like that judge saw a new man. Because now you're speaking like Christ, you're thinking like Christ, you're taking personal responsibility, and you're saying, if you give me this opportunity, then I will earn back your trust. I know it's going to take some time, but if the choice is yours, if the choice is yes, then I'm only going to ask you to give me that trust as I earn it back. Are we in agreement? That's all I'm going to ask. And I'm also going to ask that if you're going to give me another chance, that you're not going to be treating me like a slave. I know that I have to put in the work. I know what I owe, and I'm willing to put in that work because I love me, because I love God, because I love you, because I love my children, and because I truly want to create a testimony. I never even thought for a second that I could create a testimony from this tragedy. Like, I never even thought about that. But thank God I came to this video that was the answer to my prayer. And what evil intended to harm you, God can use to not just prosper you, but to prosper lives outside of you. But the testimony must be fulfilled. So my question to you, are you going to take action? Are you going to fulfill this testimony, this story that is going to impact so many people that you don't even know, and maybe you'll never even know? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to ask you to take action, to send me a message. Right? If you feel like you're going to struggle with this more than likely you will, because there's a little bit more to it. Right? We have workshops around the ATR method, our Indomitable workshops, where we lead you through all of this process, right, in 2 days. Right? So your success rate is that much higher. But if you think you got it, then yeah, this is going to work for some people. But if you think you're going to struggle with this, think like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ allowed another man to help him carry that cross. Jesus Christ allowed the Holy Spirit to lead him. Right? Most people who know what they got to do, they're never going to succeed with doing it because they're trying to do it on their own. And very few times does somebody succeed in doing it on their own because it's 5 against 95. 5 is you're conscious, you're aware that things need to be different and you know what you got to do, but there's deep-rooted programs. Those are the 95 that are going to fight you on it. But if you're not that deep-rooted, then sure, I'm pretty sure that maybe you can handle this on your own. And that's my expectation for you, that through this video, you will be able to salvage that marriage. But I'm going to leave some room open and some space for you to lean in if you think that you're going to struggle, or if you struggle after the fact that you implemented everything that I just taught you on this level. So there it is. If you guys have any questions for me, drop them down below. Feel free to subscribe. Go back to other lessons within the Indomitable Podcast. There's tons of substance there for you. And share this with somebody who's in a similar situation to yours, or perhaps they're headed down that track. You know they're already thinking about cheating on their wife. Send this to somebody, because contribution is a need of the Spirit. And subscribe once again. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next episode.